Hello and welcome to this week's presentation. We are now on week 8 of the Certified Technical Architect program. My name is Jakob Anker Nielsen as always, and I'll be taking you through the topic of this week being Portal Predictive Intelligence and Virtual Agent. To make this a bit more engaging and to follow suit on last week's presentation that I did, I want to provide you some of the visuals that we have actually been producing to respond to the case study of the week. In doing so, I will be avoiding pulling in any actual case study references right from the consultancy firm that we fictitiously have established to the fictitious customer enterprise and audience. All very important factors, especially the latter two, to understand the context that the presentation is to be delivered in and the different persona needs that we would need to address to make sure that the presentation and the value of the communication is landing well with the audience, in fact. With all of this in mind, I will now be showing you some slides. So keep in mind, I plucked out some slides, left out a bunch, so it may seem like it's not your traditional title slide going to agenda, going to key points, body, and summary, next steps, and so on. So it's more some of the main content that I'll be showing you. Hopefully it gives you an impression of the sort of work we're doing here. I will attempt to share my screen so you can see the actual presentation. The first thing that you see is a quote. So actually, the first thing you would be seeing is a title slide, which I've removed now. But what I want to emphasize here is what we are seeing, at least in the cohort, is that it's very effective to pull in some inspirational and relevant quote as well. In this regard, we are discussing predictive intelligence and artificial intelligence in general. As such, we have now a quote from the godfather of AI, Jean-André Lecun, President-Chief AI Scientist at Meta. He is mentioning that our intelligence is what makes us human, and AI is an extension of this quality. So it's kind of a step into the heated debate about is artificial intelligence here to take over the world with a Skynet reference, or is it here to augment what we already can do and liberate us? So obviously, Jean-André, he would subscribe to the latter idea, and that is the direction that we want to take this presentation here as well, to kind of give the impression of how a well-established portal with virtual agent and predictive intelligence and AI could in fact augment our ability to do more with less and to liberate us to do more important things as well. So let's get into that. Here is an example of how a business context could be responded to. So on the left-hand side, we have a context. Let's say that we're working with a company or an organization that has well-established data and service foundation. What we can then do is that we can use the predictive intelligent use cases. Bear in mind that the regression analytics are deprecated as of Washington. I have them still here for your reference. So we have classification. Classification allows us to predict the priority, assignment group, category, and fields like this. We have similarity, and similarity allows us to identify similar tasks such as incidents and potentially propose a major incident as well. Clustering is a way that we can group our, for example, incidents in a way that we define ourselves to see patterns that we would otherwise miss. And finally, regression, which is to be deprecated. It is about understanding the estimated mean time to resolution for the end user or contact of a potential incident or case to see. Next up, addressing a business context, it could be that the whole thing about automation and self-service potential is a bit new. As such, it makes sense to dive into topics such as automation discovery and AI performance. Automation discovery is about identifying automation gaps. You see here, it's essentially an advanced report that is running inside of ServiceNow, and it will let you know based on your incident historical data. In this situation here, if there might be any trends, any similarities between your incidents that may align with some predefined topics or automation topics that the virtual agent would then be able to service your end users with, and thereby making some deflections and time savings that would, in this case, be quite significant. We can see that it estimates up to 5,000 plus deflections and quite a bit of time savings. It's also important to understand how the AI is performing over time. To achieve this, we can look at the dashboard shown here that kind of gives us an overview of the prediction performance. So are we able to predict correctly? That is important to understand if we should fine-tune the different models that are being leveraged to provide the prediction intelligence. Also, getting into portal, common scenarios that many enterprises will have several different portals and channels to engage with their end users. With ServiceNow, we can funnel all of this into a virtual agent. We can, as a default or fallback option, have AI search that will give the user an ability to have catered knowledge and service catalog items that may be appropriate to whatever topic that they have been looking into, as predicted by the AI search capability building on the natural language understanding model of ServiceNow. And finally, if there should be no matches in topics from the virtual agent or from AI search, we can then go to the AI routing, ensuring that we get to the correct queue with the correct skills and correct capacity to make sure that we reduce the number of reassignments and that we get a swift time to resolution. Virtual agent. This is a flare slide to show you the benefit of it. So essentially what it is claiming is that 50% of your normal ITSM task could be deflected by the utilization of a virtual agent that you manage over time, hereby providing you with ample room and resources to focus your first, second, third line on more, let's call it strategic initiatives or otherwise more complex issues than the standard. So how does the virtual agent actually work? Consider that you have a chat. This can be embedded into your ServiceNow portal or through Engagement Messenger, where you can embed it into different external sites, intranets, or it could be through your mobile interface. You write, I want to set up email on an iPhone, and the virtual agent is now figuring out what to do about this. So it takes the input that you want to set up email on an iPhone, and it assesses it against your utterances against the intent, the NLU, natural language understanding models here, to find one that is more appropriate than the other. In this case here, there might be several, and we were able to pinpoint that you'll probably want to set up an email here. Next step is that we provide the predicted topic, or we predict the topic. We say, this is the topic that you would like to do. It has an automation to it. And here we are, provided to the contact that has written, in this case you, into the virtual agent chat. And it will give you this guided setup for setting up the virtual agent, the email in this case here. Zooming in on virtual agent, it comes in maturation stages. We have the intent stage where we want to identify the problem and business cases and how we want to measure the success of the virtual agent. Going into the crawl phase, where we start to have the initial experimentation of requested business workflows. Finally, not finally, almost finally, at the walk stage, we can go into multilingual and user experiences, so support internationalization, and also mentioning on the crawl stage, by the way, that's where you would have your fallback options such as the AI search. And in the end, advanced workflows by supported by natural language and integration, so you can tie your virtual agent topics into your automation processes with Flow Designer and so on inside the system. Making sure that we have the best-in-class automation, we want to use, for example, automation discovery to figure out some opportunities. And we could also use process mining to understand if there are any bottlenecks in our process landscape. We can then increase the self-service by maturing the topics that we have available in virtual agent, and the complementary configurations, for example, being AI search as a fallback option, should there not be any applicable topics for the user. We then want to leverage any data to train and optimize fulfiller models. So this year, when we're dealing with predictive intelligence, we are in the machine learning area of AI. And here we want to guide and train the models over time to make them more efficient. This is something that I have seen at times, that you have the expectancy because it says AI, then it will just solve everything, especially with the hype of AI currently going on. That is in fact not the case, especially not with predictive intelligence, and not with generative AI either, for that matter. The data that you put in is also the quality of this is also the quality that you get out in any case. Finally, once we have trained our models, we want to monitor the automation performance, and we can then rinse and repeat, have this cycle of automation here to maintain and optimize the performance of our automation. The benefits of the Now portal. So we now have the employee center, and we also can have, for example, a customer portal. This would be a typical distinction. However, what we are seeing now is that as the employee portal is rather new in the grand scheme of ServiceNow timeline, many enterprises will have several different portals, one for HR, one for technical services, one for knowledge, like this very, very diverse and spread out portals. While that is not really how you want to go about things when you consider the user journey. That's where employee center comes into the picture, making a user-centric experience by putting in all of your different business verticals into one. So this might be HR, financial, technical services, requests and whatnot, and knowledge in general, that you put into this one umbrella here that is then user criteria driven, meaning that depending on the user that is logging in, we'll be displaying different sorts of options, services for the user. On the customer portal, it is much the same. There you can also do a lot of granulation. This is, of course, then aimed towards external customers or B2B customers, so customers or consumers that you would want to service. So understanding the portal, how it's built, you have the portal, you can have a theme here, you have a menu you can see up in the top left corner, and you will have different data and search sources for your knowledge, for your tasks, requests, and for your service catalog as well. As seen here, you will have different pages, and maybe you saw the home HR breadcrumb, it just kind of expanded and it became a bit smaller again. This is to show one example of a page. This can be one of many. Excuse the typo and responsive layout. The point here is that whatever we build in the portal also is accessible through mobile devices, as it is built on the Bootstrap technology. The different portal pages will then be comprised of or filled with widget instances. So these can have different properties and data that is dynamically set depending on the user that is logged in, as well as CSS that can style and give a different appearance together with the properties also manipulating the behavior and logic of the widget to give a more custom user experience, even though you're actually using a widget model, which can in turn be used in several times, here indicated with 3. And each of those, depending on the properties, data, and CSS, can have a different look and feel without it breaking the box. At least it reduces the amount of technical depth needed to give this granulation and diversity in the widget instances, because they have the dynamic input of the properties, data, and CSS. And mobile. So you will have different personas in the arena that would want to influence the platform. Here they are divided into 3 main categories. We have no-code citizen developers, we have low-to-pro code developers, and we have a platform owner. All of these here are, of course, generalizations, but we have, what I wanted to show you here, different options to support the different personas. So for the citizen developer, there's a lot of drag and drop features, especially on the portal. In the App Engine Studio, you can also do stuff. And in the Service Catalog Designer, you can do branding and all sorts of stuff like this without really getting technical about it. That's one of the ways ServiceNow is really going as of now. It is seeing the potential in the citizen developer program rather than remaining with the bottleneck that it often becomes of having only a platform team with limited resources and capacity. So just like with a virtual agent that is kind of taking off some of the standard items and requests for the first line, you can consider the citizen developer program the same, where we take off many of the more easier but still valuable transformation and changes to the platform, such as small standalone applications that would have been created at any rate just outside of ServiceNow, where we can't govern them, where they become shadow IT. Instead, we are now offering different tools to build inside of ServiceNow for your citizen developers, thereby creating more engaging experience where they get to innovate with the platform itself. And you have full control over what is actually being built. We have a number of low to pro code developer tools. What I would like to emphasize here is the Process Automation Designer and App Engine Studio, as I already mentioned. If you're not familiar with Process Automation Designer, you should become it quite fast. That is the future. It is a way of collecting the different components of developing ServiceNow with the leading development frameworks. So it uses decision tables and flows, and it uses, forget one, you'll have to go find out for yourself. But at least it uses many of these no to low code, drag and drop, very visual ways of working while doing it in an integrated process setup where it is built around a process. So from different stages of a process, for example, the incident from identification to resolution stages, where you have different options of automating and applying instructions for playbooks that your fulfillers or service agents would then be able to utilize in conjunction with the automation. So this is definitely the future when you compare it to, for example, business rules, client scripts, and different current and heavily used scriptable objects and configuration options that are in fact their own little islands, because you can't really see how they fit together with the grander user journey or process. This is what the Process Automation Designer fixes for you. The platform owner can then get a sense of, so how are we using the different portals, and to what level are we customizing, and would also be able to set delegated development to, say, different groups of people have different granular rights and permissions to do citizen development and low to pro code developer tools. So it becomes very much a controlled and governed process. So it's an added complexity, sure, to get the citizen developer program on site inside of the platform, But what we do need to realize is that this is happening at any rate. So would you rather take off your blindfolds and know about it with ServiceNow and its tools and its governance and its different reporting and data visualization tools available to the platform owner? Or would you rather stay blindfolded and let it work in different teams in Power Automate, in Power BI, in Teams, where you build different sub applications with logics and so on? I think the choice is clear enough, and it will become clearer and clearer the more enterprises that will have success with the Citizen Developer Program. That is, in fact, the end of the presentation that I would like to share with you now. Thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy having more access to some of the visual content that we are creating as a part of the CTA program. I should probably here at the end emphasize that the deck that you just saw is pretty much just an example of how me and my group would do it. It is not a guiding rule of thumb for how it should be done. In fact, some of the items here would probably diverge a bit from the normal. So we are experimenting a lot here. You saw balloon animals and you saw animated robots. It's not what you typically will see in a corporate presentation, but this is a playground also. When we're working with the CTA, we are allowed to try different ways of communicating with audiovisuals to emphasize different points and engage the audience. And in fact, I would say that this presentation here has been given some quite good feedback. So maybe it's worth just using a bit of time to understand how you could elevate your presentation to communicate your points more effectively. At any rate, I hope that I was able to communicate my points effectively, and I thank you for your time and wish you a very good day.